With an all-star backcourt and two sturdy 7-footers in the front court, it is no secret what the Cleveland Cavaliers starting lineup has been missing in recent years. The starting small forward position has been a vacant space in Cleveland, and it is very possible the key to taking the next step relies on filling this vacancy. As of now, there aren't really any true small forwards on the roster, but the Cavs have a number of interchangeable guards who can stick on the wing if needed, and well, it's going to be needed. So today, I want to break down the candidates to win the starter position and what each player potentially brings to the floor. Before we get into the video, please consider hitting subscribe and sticking around, and follow me on Twitter for more of my work. We'll start off with the guy who started in more than half of Cleveland's games last season, Okoro. Okoro has been the one most frequently tossed into the starting lineup with the core four, and while all of the analytics suggest this pairing has been a great one, the actual results on the court have been a mixed bag. The limitations are obvious. Even with his noteworthy improvements as a shooter, Okoro is ignored by opposing defenses, and isn't trusted or really capable of handling the ball or scoring from above the break. Okoro is stuck in the corner on each possession and doesn't truly provide any spacing due to the lack of volume in his three-point shooting. Okoro found success cutting backdoor when teams would ignore him during the regular season, but when playing next to two other non-shooters in Mobley and Allen, these backdoor plays were taken off the board by New York, rendering Okoro a complete non-factor offensively. For this reason, I can't imagine the Cavs try to force a square peg into a round hole once again this season. Playing two non-shooters in the front court is enough of a risk, but pushing a third who hasn't earned a reputation strong enough to pull defenders out of the paint is a deal breaker. Unless Okoro makes a leap and begins shooting the ball with enough volume and versatility to command attention from the defense, I just don't see the Cavs limiting themselves with three non-shooters on the floor if they don't have to. But this could be a benefit to Okoro, as he still has value on the bench. He is proven to be the best point of attack defender on the team. Okoro is great at funneling opponents into the teeth of the defense, and in all honesty, he is the best defensive fit to bridge the gap from Cleveland's elite frontcourt to their somewhat limited backcourt. However, playing with the second unit, particularly in lineups with George Niang or Dean Wade playing the four, will hopefully allow Okoro to play more to his strengths as a finisher on offense, getting him out of the corner and into a more suitable playstyle, where he is a bit more free to play his game and he won't be asked to space the floor as much. Speaking of catering to a player's strengths, let's talk about our next candidate for the starting lineup, Caris LeVert. Now I think we can run through this option rather quickly, as LeVert himself came to Cleveland's coaching staff last season suggesting that the best role for him is on the bench. And while the Cavs panicked and tossed LeVert back into the starting lineup during the playoffs, I still think there is no question LeVert is best used as a backup ball handler to stagger the duo of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. While he had the best year of his career from behind the three-point line, asking LeVert to be a spot-up shooter rather than a secondary playmaker is wasting his talents. For this reason, I don't think the Cavs should start the three guards together anymore. And with Ricky Rubio's future in the NBA a question mark moving forward, LeVert's role as the backup point guard seems like the most logical fit. Before we get into my pick to be the starter, which is probably obvious at this point, I do want to briefly run through the other two options. Most fans are eager to see rookie Emoni Bates make his NBA debut. But at 19 years old, with a ton of things he needs to prove at the professional level, I think it's unlikely Bates wins the starting position or earns meaningful minutes this early into his career. Bates has NBA caliber talents as a three-point shooter, but the rest of his game is too unpolished to give him starter minutes on a team looking to make a deep playoff run. I think time in the G League and the occasional opportunity in the NBA will be best for Emoni Bates at this stage, because there is clearly some talent under the surface that just might take some time and hard work to bring to light. The other option is Dean Wade, who still fits the exact mold of what Cleveland needs on the wing. I mean, seriously, a 6'9" forward with good defensive versatility and again, NBA caliber shooting should be the dream fit for Cleveland. But the hints of volume shooting have been few and far between for Dean Wade, and I'm uncertain he has the confidence needed to fire away from behind the three-point line at the rate that is needed. So while Dean Wade makes a ton of sense for this team, he just hasn't materialized as the 3-and-D player he has flashed the brief potential to be. Finally, this brings us to the newest addition to Cleveland and who I believe will be the starting small forward next season, Max Strus. Strus was reportedly at the top of Cleveland's wish list during the summer, and when looking at his numbers, it only makes sense. Strus is a premier three-point shooter, drawing more gravity than the majority of the NBA and drilling his nearly 200 three-pointers from all over the floor. Strus can shoot off the dribble, he can shoot from above the break, he can shoot as a spot-up threat in the corner, and he can pull defenders out of the paint even when he isn't actually shooting. This ultimately makes Strus the most valuable member of the group we have been talking about, because you can't leave him open for a three. This puts Cleveland's offense back in the driver's seat with an actual dilemma for opposing defenses to solve. You either contest Max Strus or give Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, and Jarrett Allen the space they need to operate at full strength. Picking your poison is much more difficult when the guy on the wing is an actual three-point shooter who has proven he can bury teams from deep. I also like that Strus has experience darting around the perimeter and handling the ball himself. The Cavs can use Strus in motion and run sets with him as a decoy far more than any other wing on the team would allow them to do. This should provide a jolt of electricity to the Cavs offense and result in much less standing around like we saw last season. Strus should even help boost the Cavaliers' pace as they now have another player who can handle the ball in transition and bomb away if the defense doesn't stop him at half court. The only downside to starting Strus is he is undersized at 6'5", and he has never really excelled on the defensive end, but he's also never had Mobley and Allen to cover his tracks. It's perfectly possible that Strus will be picked on by opponents the same way Garland and Mitchell are attacked on defense on any given night, but the cheat code of having two world-beating defenders to help him in the front court, along with making the Cavaliers' offensive process run that much smoother, should counterbalance any ground Max Strus gives up defensively, because as the number one ranked defense in both the playoffs and regular season, the Cavaliers' issue has always been finding a way to grease their wheels on offense, and Max Strus is the best option to get the ball rolling as Cleveland's starting small forward. That's going to do it for this video. Please subscribe and drop a like if you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and as always, go Cavs.